Good evening, good evening, good evening, everyone. How are you all? How are you all out there in PSN land? Yes, Robbie's not here. Robbie is on holiday. I don't know where he got. Well, I didn't see his docket come through. Leave in Italy. Bet he doesn't bring us back pasta. But anyway, here we are. It's PSN show 230. And it's Friday the 30th of August, I hope, otherwise I got my dates wrong. Here in the UK it's 7 p.m. on the west coast of America or Canada. It is around about 11 a.m. I think. And in Australia, in Melbourne, it's the middle of the 17th century. So welcome all, welcome everyone. Good to see you all here. Well, I'm just seeing lots of people in the chats here. So it's lovely weather out here for a change. We've actually got lovely weather happening, just when we're in the dark and gloom of all of this. But it's very nice out there, and we're looking forward to a lovely weekend. So I suppose what I ought to do, instead of blethering on, pretty though I am, is do some of the housekeeping that Robbie normally does. So I am going to do that very small wee thing. To start off with, if you are watching the show, which you are, I mean, how would you know I'm saying, why would I say this to no one else? Anyway, like, comment, subscribe and share. Please do. The likes matter. They help enormously, and comments is always good to get comments from all of you. Subscribing, the subscribing thing does actually help us to build our share and therefore revenues and all that kind of thing. And sharing, well, it just tells everyone what wonderful people we are. Although after tonight you may not, yeah, so I quite understand. But you can support us, believe it or not, on YouTube and or on Patreon. Here we go. There's Patreon. I'll get rid of that comment, and they're rolling across the bottom as if by magic. Seamless. You can support us on Patreon. It costs you a mere £5 million a second to sign up on Patreon. I think it's probably £2 or something like that. Robbie, you'll no doubt tell me if I got that wrong. Robbie's not here, so I haven't got it wrong. So there we go. We're going to get away with murder tonight. So there's Patreon, £2. And there's also YouTube, where you can subscribe as a member, and that's another couple of quid. For all those people subscribing, there is a lot of additional material that gets released there first, and some exclusive stuff that never goes outside. So we've got sound banks from the lovely James Dyson and Mark Barnes, and I know there are others, but I'm not Robbie, so my brain is only about that big. But there are lots of sound banks on there that people have created, specifically freebies for all the people, you lovely people out there. There's also lots of video content, all the shows of course, but also shorts and exclusives that appear there, including some, I mean, there is one which is a bit of a donk doing a review of this actually, an unboxing, and unbelievably for some reason 1,900 people have been watching it, and I've got no idea why. They must be mad. But there's loads of shorts on there as well, fantastic shorts and additional longer videos by Robbie and various others. Just go and check it out. It's really worth the cost of admission, and it does support us. It helps us keep going, and helps you to see this blether carrying on endlessly, you poor things. So where else do we happen to be? Well, we also happen to be on TikTok, which is a great thing. It's a new venture for us, so let's all do the dance. That's it. We've just probably got 14 billion views. And as well as TikTok, of course, we are all over, if I hide that, we are all over YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Instagram, Threads, and of course TikTok. We're not doing that other one, X, because they wanted us to pay, and because we just don't like them. So there we go, to them. And that is almost done, except to say, whilst you're doing all of these things, comment, as much as you will in the threads. We've got the brilliant moderators that look after all of this stuff and keep all of you by the scruff of the neck in order when you're doing whatever you do, playing in the chat. And that's the wonderful Andrew Brooks, Andy, Synth something, and someone tell me, and Ben from Ezines, Musines, something like that. But the three of them manage this thing. They do it for love, not money, only the occasional snog, and we adore them for it, and it really helps keep things ticking along. And if you do have any questions, don't forget, put a big fat Q, not a British one where you line up together, but a big fat Q in front of your question, and we'll ignore it. That's just what happens. Unless someone draws our attention to it, Mike or Kent or Andy or Andrew, any of them. And that's it. We're done. That's the housekeeping. So you can all go now. It was good seeing you. But, oh no, hang on. There's some more. There's other people here. What would this show be like without the one, the only, the wonderful?
Hello.
Hello, kid.
All right. How's it going?
Well, obviously, very verbosely.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Waffleliciously.
Yes. It's been interesting week for one and all. While I think of it, big shout out to Andy, Synth Addict. We are all thinking of him. And because it's just horrible what happened to him. So, yeah. Poor soul.
I have no idea, but no doubt, let's catch up.
While he was on vacation, he was robbed.
Oh, you're joking?
No, his house was broken into and nearly 12 grand's worth of stuff stolen.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So, yeah. Yes, did a good job on the door as well.
Was this synth stuff or all sorts of things?
Yeah, synth.
Okay, so
stuff that he had recently demoed online. So, so a bit of a warning out there to people. Please be careful with the social media. There's people watching and will know if you're away and no one is home. If you get my drift. So, do you know what I mean?
Get insured, get that stuff.
Be vigilant at all times.
Poor man. Well, listen, our love goes out to him. Doubtless we'll be putting a list up of all the stuff that's been nicked and getting it out far and wide, sharing it to see if it ever gets offered up anywhere, right? Okay. And how's the rest of your week been?
Very, very interesting. About 80% of it I can't talk about because of the NDAs. So that was a long conversation.
It's this detail we love.
Yeah. I've got the Muzzy running as sweet as a nut now. She's absolutely gorgeous.
See, that's almost more important than the synths.
Oh,
almost.
Yeah.
Almost.
No, it is. No,
it's close.
It just simply is better. More important than the synths. All day
With its
long.
2 low-frequency oscillators.
Well, 8.
Or filters, actually. two low-frequency... Yeah, anyway.
Yeah, whatever. Yes.
So, well, listen, good to see you. Good to see you. And I think we've got someone else here. Some I don't know, some geezer somewhere. Are you there?
Well, I did promise people we were going to be showing them some new supplies in the studio, so supplies!
Oh,
dear.
Hello, you wonderful people out there in the computer. It's awfully good to be back. And look, Robbie brought me a Pro Synth Network t-shirt. Yay!
Oh.
We accept him, one of us. How are you all doing out there, my lovely friends?
They're not replying because they're in chat.
Oh, fine, thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah. So lots of people saying hello. Say something. How's your week been? What's been going on?
Me? Oh,
God. Don't tell us about the thing we are.
No.
But how's your week been going?
The thing we'll be getting to later, I'm still recovering from, actually. I've been sleeping a lot still. It's really amazing how hard it is to bounce back after really, really hard projects now as I'm getting older, and I'm trying to take it real easy. I've got a couple of small contracts coming up. You know, as always, I'm looking for work. If anybody out there needs me. But by and large, I've just been sort of taking it easy, enjoying being in the studio. Was finally able, after all this time, to get some of my new toys set up. You can't see it; it's here in front of me. But I got a Mini Freak Stellar. I had one of the original 4 Mini Freak prototypes when I was writing the manual, and I really missed it when I sent it back. And so I finally, when the Stellar came out, I love the color scheme. It's much easier on my eyes. So I scraped up money I didn't have and bought it.
It's a good thing. It is a good thing.
It's gorgeous. And then as far as other stuff, just to give you an idea how busy I was, stuff has been coming in that I ordered that I haven't been able to unbox. And some of it's been sitting there for weeks. So if you look over my shoulder here, you will see an Artefon Corda. Under that, you'll see a new mobile gear stand. Under that, you'll see a product that I'll talk about maybe a little later. And over there in the corner, that's my Ambient Zero. Haven't even cracked the case yet. So that should give you an idea of what my life has been like.
Well, it sounds like sounds much the same as for all of us, really, one way or another. And despite Mike's protestation for, not protestation, request for giving him gigs, give him work, I think that applies to pretty much everyone in the chat as well as us. So it's tough times out there, but hopefully we can bring you some joy and laughter.
Make things a little less tough.
A little less tough, especially on Mr. Joyce, who is that's just a horrible.
Andy, if you're out there listening, man, my heart goes out to you.
If you're missing anything specific that you can't get, let's do a sort of reach out and see what if there's anything I've got here that would help you, I could get it packed up and shipped over, mate. Just ask, seriously.
Yeah, I don't have a lot to offer, but what I have you can share.
Not this. I mean, Andy, I love you.
Nor
mate,
this.
but
Nor this.
yeah. So anyway, it's been this is, as you can tell, we're almost 15 minutes past the hour. There's not a brilliantly large amount of fabulous news, except there is. There is. Do you know what? I think we ought to start with something rather magnificent, and one of the reasons that young Mike is here. Shall I bring this up?
Oh, sure. Why not?
Do you think I should? Let me just...
Well, every time I bring it up, people want to hit me. So...
Yeah, well, there is that. Oh, there we go. It's coming up. So, unlike Robbie, I don't have this prepped ready ahead of time because I'm...
You know what? It just lets us look at your beautiful face.
Well, yeah, I'm too pretty. There we go. And here goes Eddie. Boom.
Hey, there you go.
So, Mike.
Is that on the Buke site?
That is on the Bob Moog Foundation Moog.
There is a gigantic typo in the title.
Yeah.
Announcing exclusive Minimoog book launch, The Moogseum. You need an @ in there, guys. Come on. You need to hire an editor. Hello. Anyway.
Shameless.
I know. Oh, absolutely. I have no shame at all.
So, this is launching. This is an announcement by Michelle and Joe De Silva and Kim Bukes and, of course, Mike and various others that they are hosting an event to do the book launch for the Minimoog book, which we've talked about on here several times. It's just about ready to ship. I think it might even be shipping, but they're doing a launch thing on the September the 14th. That's a Saturday at the Moogseum. Or is it the Moogseum? Which is it? Moogseum.
Moog rhymes with Vogue.
Yeah, but then Moogseum, Moogseum. You see, then there's some otherwise Moogs.
No, it's worse. Okay. Andrew, don't peak too early.
Peak, that would be good. I'm sitting in the trough at the moment, and I aim to stay here. So, however, this is the announcement that they're doing a book launch at the Moogseum on Saturday the 14th with the author Joe Silver, or is it Joe or Joey?
It's Joe. He spells it with the capital E, just basically to stand out. So you know, when you get emails and stuff like that, you know it's him, because there are an awful lot of Joes in this world.
Right. So Joe E. Silver and publisher Kim Bjorn will be present for 3 different signing events on the day. So there's an afternoon book signing. No reservations required, as you can see, but they would appreciate you RSVPing that. There's evening talks, performances and signing. And the evening performances, I believe they've got Eric Nordlander.
Yes, they do.
Performing. Now, there's someone that knows a thing or two about the Mini and various other things. And then you can book tickets, make reservations, and if you want books signed by Joey, then you can. You need to book that ahead of time just to make sure there's time to do that. But what do you want to tell us about this young Mike?
Well, I suppose the first thing I need to do is to clarify the schedule for the people who have jumped in on the Kickstarter. As far as I know, the complete run of books is off the press now. They are being packaged and prepared for distribution to Kickstarter backers, with a special edition going out first, obviously. There will be a soft launch of the book at NobCon next week. We will have a few copies. They will not be for sale. They're for display only, so that people can flip through them, take a look, get the word out. And after the official launch on the 14th in Asheville, people should start seeing their Kickstarter purchases being fulfilled fairly quickly after that. So hopefully there will be these books finally in people's hands, and we'll be getting more and more of the word out about them. And hopefully the book will do as well as we anticipate it will, because there really is nothing like it. This is a big deal even for us. And I have to say, with no false modesty at all, that we've done some pretty amazing things in the past. And this one's a whole new level. This one's got stuff. Without seeing too much, I'll say it's got records and history stuff that very few, if any, people know about. It's got a ton of interviews, including at least a half a dozen with people who died since the interview was done and now. So we've got some. Oh, Manny, no, you cannot steal my copy. I'll break your fingers. Anyway. Just technical stuff. We talk about mods. We've got some amazing galleries of modded Moogs, including some stuff that people have never seen before. There's I don't know if oh god, of course I'm blanking on his name now. There's a tech who was one of the people who helped rebuild the Big Moog for Keith Emerson, and it's not Will Alexander, it's the other guy, and I'm blanking on his name, but he's got a modded Moog in there that will pop people's eyes out, because you look at it and you're going, what the hell is that thing? We've got all kinds of interesting photographs, memorabilia, and there's for all you Poindexters out there who love talking the real tech, we actually have an 8-page spread where we disassemble a Minimoog all the way down to the front panel, and then from behind we reassemble it card by card, so you can, and we talk about the history and changes and developments. So we pop in the power supply card, we talk about it, we pop in the oscillator card, we talk about the various ones, we pop in the filter cards, and so on and so on. So you get to see this instrument all the way down to the front panel and back.
So what you're saying is you do that, and Kent, you're now out of a job, mate.
Yeah, right. Sure. Fine. Absolutely. No.
So listen, let's just getting back to, so listen, the book is an amazing thing. I think let me just come back to this, because That way people can see it. So the book is an amazing thing. And what I've seen of it is extraordinary. The snatches that we've been able to view, offline as well as here, have been amazing. And it's probably, from what I've seen, the best book of its sort that's out there. And here's the thing. Joe Silver spent 10 years doing this, and we're all synth nuts.
Thank
right?
you, Mike Hunter. Gene Stop. Gene Stop is the name. Gene Stop's Minimoog is at the EMIAP Museum in Eastern Pennsylvania. Mike Hunter looks at it every time he's out there, and the pictures are unbelievable. Thank you. Sorry, go back to what you were saying, Andy.
So, Joe Silver spent the best part of 10 years of his life pulling this together. And for, this, we're all synth nuts. This is the sort of fount of all, the source for so much of everything that's come since. And it is really, sort of, if not the Bible, then it's one of the early Old Testament chapters of it, I reckon, for synth history. And they've sold a reasonable amount now. They managed to hit their target and some. But this is such a work of love, and you've probably seen online that Kim and Mike and others, Joe, all of them are pretty exhausted by this. We would encourage anyone that hasn't bought it already, stick your hand in your pocket. This is a great book. Do it. This kind of thing is a disappearing art, and we want to keep it alive, and we want to celebrate this as much as we can. So please do dip in, and particularly get along to the Museum. Michelle is right behind this. She's an astonishing force. Thank you, Michelle. I don't know if is Michelle in the chat at all. I don't know.
I don't see her, but
we support everything she does, along with others. But Michelle is a force, and this is a great thing. So thank you for doing this, Michelle. I'm sure we have other announcements at some point that will be equally wonderful, but not right now. So that is the Minimoog book, the launch at the Museum on the 14th of September, Saturday the 14th of September. You don't have to book for the afternoon sessions, but if you RSVP, just allow them to work out numbers and arrange flow and stuff. But if you want books signed, get along there, and Joe Silver will be there to sign books. Please book that in advance, just so there's plenty of notice.
And just for those of you who are wondering, Joe is, despite his abilities with interviews and everything else, Joe is a relatively introverted, reclusive guy who doesn't travel all that much. He's not doing anything like a book tour. So if you really want to meet him, shake his hand, hear his insights talking about the book, and get a signature, this is probably your best chance.
And he'd appreciate a really big fat snog on the lips from everyone that visits. Everyone.
His words, not mine.
He said that. He said that. Well, he didn't say that. I'm making that up. But
yes, you're making that up.
It could be true. It could be true. Ken, what about you? Are you waiting for this as well? I know Andrew Brooks is saying he's waiting. I'm waiting on my copy.
I made my order, as it were, quite a few weeks back. Yeah.
And Ken, you'll find the breakdown section particularly interesting. You know that for the most part, the real serious synth repair people are getting harder and harder to find. There's a young man in the Southeast named Jareth Lackey. He's got I'm trying to remember what the name of his YouTube channel is, but he's just sort of getting started. Well, he's just getting started being known, but he's been doing this for a long time, and he was our advisor and the person who helped us take a lot of the photographs. And I think I'd be interested to hear what you have to say about his expertise, because he was a delight to work with. And we all know about people like Allison Cassidy over here, but this young man is pretty special. He specializes in Moog, and he called me the other day and he was like, ever since people started talking about the book, I've been getting a lot of requests for Voyager repairs. I said, well, why is that a problem? He says, well, I've never worked with a Voyager. I said, you haven't? And he said, well, no, I just bought one, and I got it cheap because it wasn't in very good condition, and I've gotten it working again, and it sounds really good. So I'm learning fast. So there's that.
Right, so we've just plugged another channel, and
I know Jareth. I do know him. Yeah, yes, I do. I think we've been friends on Facebook for quite some time.
Yeah,
You've
he's a
got
good kid.
friends.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and there is Voyager material, and we do talk about the reissues as well in the book.
Did the Jason Rebello one get into the book in the end?
You mean the one with
The
LCD and all
Yeah,
that?
the Ultravox one. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's in there, but
Oh, we did.
But we had to use old photographs. Jason never got back to me.
Ah,
For that matter, I don't even know if he's the current owner. I don't know if he's still got it.
as far as I know, he still is.
Yeah, there were a couple. There were a couple that we missed, and we're hoping that eventually we'll be able to chase those down and put them online.
And so talking about the online thing, the other thing about this book, as far as I recall, is you have got so much additional material you can't possibly put in the book.
Tons.
So you are going to be sticking, or that is going to be put online for supporters of this project. Is that right?
What's going to happen is we have one of our big things to do now that the book is finally shipped is we've got an online presence that we're hoping to get online, a monthly subscription called Bukes Club. And the new material from the Minimoog book is going to be only part of what we offer. There may, for instance, be some Synth Gems style articles with photographs that only appear online. We may have additional patches for some of the other books, like Patch and Tweak with Moog. This is going to be something where we regularly provide everything from audio recordings and samples to blogs, articles, hopefully a tutorial or 6, and just basically continue to add value to these books. People have been very gracious about saying how much they love these titles. But the thing about books is they're a fixed point in time. And what we'd like to do, in addition to creating new books, is to make sure that people know that we're supporting their support of the stuff we've done already. So it's called Bukes Club. I believe the address to sign up is bukes.club, but not absolutely sure about that. But yeah, keep an eye on it over at bukes.com, definitely, and we'll keep you posted. I think we've got a mailing list where we're letting folks know what's going to happen. So it's not just going to be for the Minimoog book. It's going to be for all our titles.
Great stuff. So in the meantime, we have some other news to chat about, not a lot, but we'll stretch it out.
Oh,
That's
you've
what we
got
do.
me here. That won't be a problem.
No.
I want to see Siri.
Siri, here. Come on, say hi.
Hello. Hi, sweetie. Thank you.
Right,
Thank
go
you.
back.
I'm good now. I'm good
There
now.
are,
We've got
there
Nelly
are
as well now.
there's 500,000 iPads and iPhones around the world now going, what?
How can I help you?
What can I lie about to y'all?
Yeah.
Well, actually, mine has an Irish accent.
Oh, cool.
Potatoes.
Anyway.
No.
Potatoes.
What the feck he wanting?
Potatoes.
You
So-
again.
Moving
Give us a
on,
beer.
moving on to other things, just
Go
because
on.
we can. There's a couple of things that have been announced this week. And if I just share this with you, this has been announced. You'll find it on the Gear News website with a review by some bloke called Rob
Puricelli.
Puricelli.
Puricelli. It's a kind of pasta.
Yeah, he's
It's a kind of pasta. So you order Puricelli with the pesto.
he's closely related to Michelle Moog, and so the thing about this is it's their Mk3, and Rob has done a rather brilliant, I say because otherwise I'm going to get hit, review. Actually, it is a pretty good review, and it's a very sensible one. So he goes into a history of what the whole Keylab range is. And he got his first one back in 2013, and he's very honest about the fact that things like keys broke a bit. Well, they broke an awful lot on that first model. He didn't realise that if he just sent it back, they'd have just replaced it. But these things happen.
Was that was that the first analog lab?
That was the first Keylab. First Keylab. So this is a controller, isn't it?
Yeah. I had one of that generation. My problem was that the thing didn't have a dead zone. So it was constantly sending pitch and mod data.
Well, this, let me see if I can zoom this a little, because this is the new versions of this. So it would really help if I just sort of brought them out. There we go. So this is the new versions of these things. So they've got a 49 key and a 61 key version of these, and I believe they cost somewhere between I think the Keylab 61 is $549
Yeah,
for those of you
works
that
out to about 450 quid, I think.
yeah, something like that. And if I just get rid of that, if I know how, there we go. And I think we'll get rid of that as well. I'm trying to work out, I was trying to work out exactly what is new about it. Do either of you know anything more about this than I do? I mean, it does. We know it's
upgraded action. The keyboard. It's not full touch, but it's not poly aftertouch. But they're
not at that price. No.
Yeah, they're constantly improving their mechanical feel, and so my guess is that as much as the Mark II was a step up from the Mark I, I don't think the Mark III is likely to be all that much better than the Mark II. But people will probably have a better playing experience.
I think one of the things which is new in this, which something Robbie was talking to me about not so long ago, is the idea that, you know, when you're flicking through presets and, you know, you go to touch a pot or a fader or whatever, and you don't know, you know, which one is, what's this actually controlling, and you don't know. Just touching any of these knobs or faders, it will immediately in the display tell you exactly what it is it's controlling.
Oh my gosh, it's not like anybody ever did that before. On the other hand, this is probably a much more reliable implementation than the stuff that existed in previous products.
Well, yes, I'm sure that's the case. Now, they haven't announced an 88, and as you've said, this doesn't have poly aftertouch or MPE of any sort. But we are wondering. We're wondering with, you know, whether or not they do bring out an 88, whether or not it will have poly or their new touch system that they've got. I mean, it's a lovely looking thing, and it comes in black as well as white. Ken, is this something which you like? Didn't you have a Keylab, or have you got you had something else? What have you got?
No, I went complete control.
You went.
Yeah, you see, and that tells you what the sliders and knobs are without even having to touch them, which is nice. Not that it makes a great deal of difference long term. From what I can see from this is just sort of like it's released so like if you've got a PB12, you've got a controller that kind of matches its design, and they got it in black if you're still using the Polybrute 6, you know. So
yeah.
That's what it looks like. It looks like it's styling and improvement to the keybed, I believe,
and a bigger display.
Yeah, and so it's a few refinements, not unlike actually what the differences there were between the Mark I complete control and the Mark II. Just improvements on various aspects of it. Except when the 3 come out, it did have poly aftertouch.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
so not that Poly AT is the be all end all of you know, what makes a controller brilliant or not. and
it also adds cost and weight. And one of the points that Robbie said, you know, we all have lots of keyboards. We have lots of keyboards that don't have Poly AT or MP controls, but you still need those. You still use those. You know, I still do that. So you know, it doesn't mean you can't get this. And I suppose the weight means you can. You know, it's solid, sturdy, but you can still carry it around. So it'll be okay for gigging, and it'll be okay for, you know, banging around to studios and God knows what else. Whereas if you put in poly aftertouch, suddenly you've got, you know, a hernia waiting, as it were.
Sorry, Andrew. Depends on the mechanism. The what do they call it? The polytouch keyboard that goes into the Hydra synths. The big keys can, you know, have a bit more weight, but they make a version for the Explorer that doesn't really add much in the way of weight at all. The main thing you get the weight for is for something like Full Touch, you want a more heavy keyboard action. So it's got a little bit more resistance and you have a little bit more control.
Okay, so, and we can see here they start at 387 quid for the 49 version.
Yep.
And it goes all the way up to, 473 quid. So, I mean, there's plenty of options there. It's a nice enough thing. Is it something that you'd be interested in getting, Mike?
Well, keeping in mind that I've shifted away from a controller paradigm these days, I miss them. There are certain things where sometimes I just really, really wish I had, a straight up controller for talking to my Mac. And I worked with the Mark II. I reviewed the Mark II for the magazine ages ago, and really liked it. One of the things that both this and our next news item talk about is integration with software. And one of the things that has always been dead brilliant with Arturia is how their Analog Lab software integrates with the controller. They've gotten very, very good at bridging the hardware software gap. Yikes. But they've gotten really good at bridging the hardware software gap. Part of the reason why I like the Mini Freak so much is because you can have a Mini Freak V right up on the screen in front of you, and all the knobs and faders and so forth just map. So Analog Lab is a very underrated piece of software. It comes free with a lot of this stuff, and it's got gobs and gobs and gobs of great modeled sounds from all of the different Arturia software instruments, and they're all mapped to the controls, so you can do things very easily. So if you're willing to buy into the ecosystem, especially, it's in my opinion maybe the best value out there right now, unless you've gone as Kent has and you're really into what NKS gives you, in which case obviously the complete control is the way you want to go.
But this is also about cost, isn't it? It's that cost thing as well. So you can only put so much. Here's the thing: there's going to be a lot of people out there that are working almost exclusively with computers, with laptops, whatever, and with software, and they're going to need controllers. So anything which gives you more direct control of stuff and gives you the ability to put this stuff, put your tunes together to do your music.
Absolutely.
Is a good thing. There just seems to be an awful lot of it out there at the moment and at various prices.
And, there are a lot of possibilities out there. And, I mean, I still think that there are places where people can improve things. The touch sensitive faders and knobs are brilliant. But what I would really like to see, as much as I hate to say it, the one thing that Behringer did that nobody else has is an affordable controller that has motorized faders. Motorized faders that update from the software. I had them for a while and I still miss them terribly. That's the missing link, is having your faders follow what's going on in your DAW.
Well, you can go out and buy an SSL.
Oh, I'll buy two.
A G series. What?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, whilst we're talking about this, the other thing which we've got news about this week, not entirely dissimilar, is this puppy. This is, if I get to the right, there we go, the Mark IV launch key. So, a new generation of keyboard controllers. So this is Novation doing their thing now. They're releasing a series, and they're starting out with a small sort of junior version of the whole thing, 25 keys and 49, or no, 37, and then they've got it goes all the way through to premium version of the same things, which go all the way up to 61 keys, and that's the range there. And the range, I think, goes from around about 110 British pounds all the way up to 279 for the 61 key, and 110 pounds for this little wibbler up here. Now the thing is that we know they're not the best. They don't have They don't have poly aftertouch either. In fact, I'm not even sure if they have aftertouch.
They have
They have velocity. I know that these smaller ones have velocity.
Scroll down a little bit. Lasse talks about it 2 paragraphs down below the picture.
Okay. Semi-weighted, blah, blah, blah.
Yes, it has no aftertouch.
No aftertouch. So,
Moving on.
but yeah, it's got no aftertouch, but it does have controllers. So you can add controllers from mob wheels or sliders and various other things. So,
My God, have they actually finally added a 9th fader?
on this they have, on the
They have
61.
resisted a 9th fader for years, and for me, that alone was a deal breaker. I would have loved to have had an SL Mark III. It had all this great control, all these amazing things you could do with it, the color-coded zones, etc. But there's no master volume fader you can grab in a hurry. What the hell? Anyway, so they fixed that, and I'm happy.
Yeah, so here's the thing. It's yet another set of key. This is a larger range, admittedly, than the Arturia launch, as it were. So this is covering a lot of ground, and we know that Novation have worked really hard to provide really good links hooks into Ableton. Now the thing is that this version, they've actually extended it beyond that, so that it does integrate with a lot of other apps as well. So I think they've got templates for a bunch of other doors, which makes it a lot more sensible, as it were. Hang on, look at this. Pads. So the
pads with polyphonic aftertouch.
Have polyphonic aftertouch. So that's kind of interesting.
Well, that is not new.
No, we know, but it's here at this price. So here's the thing you were saying earlier, Mike.
Yeah.
Price and quality and functionality.
Well, I will say, for what they do, they're likely to be very good quality. Novation gives really good build quality for the money.
It does. And here we go. Look, custom scripts for Logic Pro, Cubase, Reason, Fruity Loops, Studio. You can also control Reaper, Pro Tools, Studio One, etc. So this is covering a lot more ground now.
Mm-hmm.
And I know they've got a bunch of new chord modes that they have running, and arpeggio modes that are kind of interesting. Generative arpeggiator. So again, if you are tied to a laptop, if that's your way, or to an iPad or whatever it is that you're making music on, or whatever laptop, then you still need a controller. So the Arturia one, which I think is slightly better featured, but that's going to cost you up to 500 and whatever it is quid, or £479, whereas this 279. It's 200 quid less. So which do you go for? Which do you go? Kent, what's your thoughts on this? Because this, I have to say, I declare my hand out of this, and I love Novation stuff, but if it doesn't have aftertouch,
with this, I've got that kind of, that petulant teenager sitting in the corner with his hood up, with the iPhone going, yeah, whatever. Because there's a couple of things. Like I said, Poly AT is not the be-all, end-all of having a controller. It's nice, but it comes at a price, and it always will. But I'm not a fan of keyboards that put the mod and pitch wheels up here. I'm old school. I like them next to the keyboard. Thank you. But not up there, right? And they're going, oh yeah, it's a new generation. I'm not really seeing anything that's new about it at all. Or is it just
apart
me?
from the fact that it does address a lot of other doors immediately. So there's templates, so it can control and address other doors, plugins, whatever.
Yeah, but 9 times out of 10, your door will come to meet the controller you plug into it anyway.
Yeah, it's these days mapping and templating are just so easy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
and those templates become outdated if you're not using the Huey protocol. then you have to be sure that the controller company is updating your templates for the for updates to the DAW software.
Well, this does have the HUI protocol as part of it. So there we go.
Yeah,
There
I
we
mean,
go.
you see, the thing is, if you use a Lappy and you're the type of person that is going to be out and about, playing live, dodging beer bottles being thrown at you and all that sort of bullshit, you would have had a controller by now. I'm not seeing anything about this that would make me go, oh, do you know what? I'm going to ditch my 49 key controller to go and buy this. I'm not really seeing anything that's like, grabbing me.
I'm
You know what I
betting
mean?
it's for new. I'm betting it's for new folks. I'm betting it's for people who.
Then fine. I mean, because if they can get used to using the pitch and mod up above the keyboard, then fine. It's just after, what, 7.5 centuries of using them here.
Yeah, exactly. And I know that
Use them up there.
you with the CS80, it's the same thing. You've got to have the pitch and mod wheels right next to the keyboard
Yeah.
on the CS80, or it's just not the same.
Yeah, I think I had a Studio Logic 61 that had the pitch and mods up there, and I hated it with a passion.
He didn't get the joke, or he's avoiding it.
I'm avoiding it.
Yeah.
Because I'll just go down that rabbit hole, and then the next thing you know, we're getting copyright striked and banned and sacked and everything else. Do you know what I
Sorry, my bad.
So I mean, I'm just wondering what the guys in the chat are thinking here. I'm just having a quick look. I noticed we had a new member sign up as well, by the way, somewhere. Where was that?
Atos Z, I think it was.
Atto Z. There we go. Show.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yay!
Thank you, Atto Z. Well done.
Good
Glad to
man.
have you on board. Thank you for joining. Send us your money. Send me cake. Cake is good.
Cake is good. Cake is
so-
always good when the
yeah,
cake
what-
is not a lie.
Lily will go around and extort money out of him.
Is anyone in the chat, any of our lovely PSNers, is anyone here interested in, either of the previous two items? Is it something which either of you would consider getting? Because I'm just wondering whether or not this is
Scrolling back, the main thing that I'm reading is some people understand why Poly AT is good, some people don't yet, but the main thing is a lot of people are now saying if it doesn't have aftertouch, it's not really worthy of consideration. And I have to call back to 25 years ago at the NAMM show when Craig Anderton and I were watching any kind of aftertouch vanishing from keyboards. It's just you had to be able to spend over $2,000 on a top-of-the-line flagship board because the manufacturers were all saying, well, velocity's enough. And if you had come to, Craig and I, while we were drowning our sorrows in the Hilton lobby talking about how the controllers of the 80s were gone and told us that people would be complaining if things didn't have poly aftertouch, I think we both would have said that you were drunker than we were. So,
And Half God, Half Beast has said, he missed the early part of this, so has the Novation one got Poly AT? And the answer is no. No, it hasn't. But neither does the Arturia. And the thing is, we were just talking about this earlier, and we've been through it in the chat a few times here. Does everything need to have Poly AT? I love Poly AT. I think it's a really good thing, but it does make things expensive. And there are parts and instruments that just simply don't need it.
that's true.
They simply don't.
Oh, yeah.
What they need is a really good, so a piano needs a really good, certainly a Hammond doesn't need Poly AT, right?
Right.
So it depends what your instrumentation is and what you're doing, and if you're doing certain sorts of dance music, do you need Poly AT for that? Because that's
Probably
more fun.
not.
So
This is why I say that Poly AT is not the be all end all of
No.
the key. It's not. It not necessarily has to be the, the point where you decide you don't want it. However, if I had £1 for every time I've had somebody say to me, I wish you could still get Kurzweil MIDI boards, I could retire.
yeah,
Well, yeah, that's true. The MIDI board had other issues, but it really was just an amazing, amazing, wonderful thing for somebody who had piano technique to do this stuff. Yeah, the closest I ever got to getting one was Doug Wyatt of fame for many, many different bits of music software in the past. He and I were chatting, and he said, "Yeah, I got a MIDI board in my closet that I'm not using right now." And I said, "Can I have it?" He said, "No."
wasn't there? There was another There was a really weird one. It was an Italian.
General Music, the General Music S2.
Yeah, which was a great keyboard.
Yeah, the Gem. It was an early digital workstation type thing with a sequencer built in and so on. Great keyboard action on a bizarre damn synthesizer.
But it did have MIDI out. I know Wakeman used Gem for quite a while. I don't know if he still does.
Emerson, if you look at his, go to EMI app and look at the stuff of his, there's at least one General Music keyboard that he used. So yeah, it was a thing when he decided he didn't really want to, try to stuff his GX1 into his backpack anymore. He went a little lighter.
So I guess
wasn't it the S2 that had?
Yeah, the S2, the 76
S2.
note. The S3, the 61 didn't.
Yeah.
And there was
How do I know these things?
There was another Italian manufacturer that made was it an Oberheim branded thing?
That would have been Elka. No, not Elka. They made the OB12.
That's it. But they also didn't they make another keyboard, which was a mother keyboard of some sort, which was bonkers barking. And I was
yes,
Viscount or Viscount. I guess you'd
Viscount.
said.
It was Viscount. I'm
yeah,
sure it was
Viscount.
Viscount.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
it.
Viscount made the OB12, which is still beloved among some people.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if it had poly aftertouch.
I can't remember.
A lot of people were building these gigantic piano action 88 key things for a while. Akai had one. Of course, there's the Yamaha KX88, but none of them had poly that I know of. You had to get a DX1 or an S2, any of the Ensoniq keyboards, which were not exactly the best playing experience.
There's the VAX, wasn't there?
Yeah, and the VAX. Yeah, the Infinite Response, the VAX 77. Which
obviously Prophet T8 had it, but it was also absolutely shite.
Oh, it was, but I love the sound. The T8 is still my favorite sequential. I had a T8 for years. My Mrs. made me sell it because it broke a stand it was on, and I dived and caught it. As it came off the stand, and my spine has never been the same. I've walked with a limp in bad weather ever since I was 30ish, and she just said, "Sell it."
Oh, right.
And so out it went.
I have to say the T8 was one of my favourite sounding
I
ones
loved it. I loved it so much.
Thing.
I've got one downstairs in a flight case. We don't bother moving it.
It was heavy.
Walk around it.
It was heavy. Not as heavy as a Polymoog, though.
I'm going to move on to a couple of other things. We've done quite a bit of, we've done some
we have
faffed
here. About.
We have faffed about. There's something I was going to do. Well, you know what comes next on the list, but I'm going to jump that and come back to it because talking of cheap, I think because we're on a bit of a theme here, so affordable stuff. I do hate so very much to jump in and promote these things, but let me throw this at you as soon as I can get this up on screen. So I was going to play a video, but here's the thing, because I'm not Robbie, I don't know what's going to get us a strike, and so I'm just going to avoid it. There we go, as much as I can. But have a look at this little beauty, as it were, which is the one. And let me go to the Behringer site for a moment. Let me just remove that and go to the actual Behringer site because that's got a bit more detail on it. Share screen. There we go. And I know there's not a lot of love in certain circles for Yuli and all he does, but let's have a little look at this because this is quite an extraordinary thing. They've been leading on this for at least 3-4 years, something like that, guys. Is that right?
Something like that. It's hard to keep track these days.
It's hard to care. Yes, I know.
Well, it's not hard to care, but it's hard to keep track.
It is. There we go. November 2020. So it's almost 4 years. Target retail price of 149. Now they've announced it today, and they've got a trailer video up, which is pretty special, I have to say. This is actually a really good thing as a sequencer, stroke drum machine, stroke whatever. I think this is, there are some things they've borrowed from other people, but it looks to me that this is pretty much an original thing they've done.
They do them occasionally, and when they do, they're great. That's the irony. That's the
thing. Yeah, that's kind of where I was going with that.
Yeah, the Behringer, the Mortar 49 was that controller I talked about earlier that had motorized faders. Nobody did that except one old CME piece that was not available in the States. So, yeah, when they do something original, it's really good. I just wish that they sort of leaned into that instead.
Oh, interesting. So this is original?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I thought it was a clone of a 909.
No, they've got a drum machine which is separate. Let me get rid of that.
No. That's a multi-mode sequencer, which is severely cool. And so I have no problem with that at all. Because it's like nothing. I mean, maybe if you were to dig around under the hood, you would find that there were other Eurorack modules that had some of these ideas, but this seems to be really nicely integrated.
So Behringer have released a trailer on YouTube, which, I mean, it's 9 minutes long. We won't watch all of it, but I think that's probably safe from a copyright strike, wouldn't you say, Robbie? Kent, what do you think?
Yeah. Come on.
Should we give it a go? Should we give it a play? Let me just pop it up on screen.
Just, not the whole thing.
Let's just do the intro and see what it does, and avoid the ebullient chappy presenting. Here we go.
So we at Behringer had a goal. Could we make the dopest, most feature-packed modular drum sequencer on the market, stacked with probability, polymetric, random mode, 64 steps, mad pattern memory, and onboard live jamming control? Oh, and can we make it the fraction of the cost of anything else on the market? What's that I hear you say? Impossible? Think again, amigos. Time to stir things up a bit. It's the RS-9.
So I think we've had enough of that.
I gotta say, that fellow, amigos. Think again, amigo. Oh my God.
I know.
My God.
Thing
Anyway,
is,
sorry. This
does some really interesting stuff. I'm just gonna take this down and go back to the website, if I can find it quickly. You'll forgive me doing this. So talk amongst yourselves whilst I try and get my shit together, as it were, and I will try and find this this doofer. Where are we? There we go. So share screen, blah blah blah, blah blah blah. There we go. So this again is this little beastie. Now you've heard it a bit, you can see some of what it's done. So this is doing something new and unique. And what I don't understand about Behringer, I really don't understand it, is why, if they can turn out stuff that, I mean, I do encourage you actually to go and look at the video. I mean, look, it's got CV ins and outs. It's got MIDI in and out, USB. It connects in all sorts of ways. It's got 10 channels of drums on there, as well as the 64-step sequencer. It's a madly goodly, lovely thing. We think it's coming out at around about 150 to 200 quid, something like that. I mean, what are your thoughts on that, Ken? What do you think? Because this is, I know there is a lot of sniffiness about them, and they've, some practices that not everyone agrees with, but they have made some stuff affordable, and then they bring out something like this. Or the K2 even, which was the K2 Mark II, which was a decent, lovely thing. What's your feelings about this, Kemp?
I don't know if I have any.
Go on.
Well, no, I honestly, it's a trigger sequencer. Yay. Cool. All right. Well done.
And a drum machine.
And a drum machine, is it? Oh, okay then.
And it will drive your Moog. Well, your 55. 55. And other such. Not really for you.
Well, I have a sequencer that drives my Behringer 55.
And you've got the MPC, haven't you?
I got the MPC as well, yeah. And so, it's a sequencer. Cool. It's very affordable. In fact, it's too affordable. Makes you wonder, why have they made it so cheap?
Oh, that's easy.
Go on.
That's a Behringer finishing move. That's, the suplex and dropping your opponent to the ground and cracking his spine. They could get 300 quid for it.
Yeah.
But at 150,
if that's what it is. Andrew Brooks, by the way, has just said there are no drum sounds in it.
No, it's just a sequencer.
Okay, so I take it.
But even
so it's just a trigger sequencer then.
Yeah, it's a trigger sequencer. But keep in mind, Kent, that a lot of people don't have access to that kind of stuff. Trigger sequencers are still, in the Eurorack world, tend to be pretty esoteric. And, an analog trigger sequencer that gives you analog speed rather than digital latency, people will pay for that. Thanks to Vince Clarke, who everybody thought was crazy when he said, no, the reason why erasure tracks sound so tight is because I do everything analog. So no, I think it was a finishing move. We've done this, but it's not just going to be cheaper than anybody else could do. I mean, a Korg SQ64 doesn't do this much, and it's $400. But now this thing's it's so stupid cheap that it makes people's wallets twitch. That's as David Lee Roth used to say, that's cigarette money.
Yeah, it is.
Below a certain price point, you just go, yeah, what the hell? If I don't like it, I'll sell it on eBay. So yeah, I think that was very deliberate. And whether or not it has an impact on build quality, we won't know until we see the damn thing.
Yeah.
There is that. So
which also makes them throwaway.
It does, but then that's been the case for an awful lot of the stuff they've done, including the little tiny wiggly little things where, if it goes wrong, go and buy another.
Yeah.
Or do without it, kind of thing. They've got a model. The thing is, this particular one, I happen to like trigger sequencers because you work with them. You work with them in a different way than you do with any other kind of sequencer. And this thing they've given a lot of thought to this, to being able to jam along with it, to be able to, move stuff around, change the swing, all of that stuff in real time, really, really simply and easily, which I know you can do with most all of them. But it's something which a lot of people using sequencers generally, either on screen or otherwise, aren't necessarily used to that level of control, immediate control. So I kind of like it. I have to say, I kind of like it.
It is a good concept. It really is, and it's hard to beat the price. And Behringer being Behringer, people have opinions, but I've got to say, when they do original stuff, they do a really nice job.
They do. And talking of original stuff, because I don't want to spend too long on this. Something else came out, which I'm just, I think I'd like to say ambivalent, but I'm not, because this. Can I just say to you, young Mike, or even to Kent?
Oh dear.
Really? Can I say, if I had one of these, would you like to see my knob?
Oh, I remember when the first version of that came out. And they were charging about that much. And people who came by the booth looked at the guy and they said, "Are you out of your flipping mind?"
Yep, but this is shipping in September now.
Well, yeah, but there are people who worked on the synclavier that love that metal knob with the resistance and the the speeding up and slowing down of stuff depending on how far you turn it. I mean, that was one of the few ergonomic good things about the original synclavier, which was such a piece of crap to work with. But
Other people have different opinions, by the way, just in case any of you care to voice that otherwise. Thing is, these kinds of wheels, these kinds of knobs, as they are, I use this kind of jog wheel a lot in video editing and in audio editing, and there is something to be said in terms of just tactility.
Oh, yes.
And your ability to do work fast and reliably. There is something about the heft of this that is absolutely glorious. And it costs money to get that right. It does. I'm not sure it's 278 quid, but it's Synclavier. And they're still a relatively small, concern now. So, and with Regen, this seems like the perfect match for that. Ken, what do you think about it?
Well, it's kind of, for me, it's a throwback to the Moog source, or should I say Moog source, for legal reasons.
That knob wasn't velocity sensitive, and
no, nothing like that. But it is that kind of thing where it did work quite well.
Yeah.
For programming that particular.
Yeah, it did. It really did. That's a good point.
So I can see it, but when you're getting close to 300 quid for that, it for me that puts it into it's a luxury piece.
Well, one other thing I think I'd feed back on that. I now have a couple of friends in the community on this side.
You've got a couple of friends.
I know, scary, right?
Are you talking about your carers?
No. They're paid to be my friends.
Yeah. Good money.
Yeah. Nice gig if you can get it. But on this side of the puddle, I've got a couple of folks in the community who have picked up the Regen, and they're diving in deep. This looks like the kind of a machine that's going to really get people way into it and wanting to use it for a lot of different things, And my guess is that after you've bought a Regen and you've worked with it for, a few months and you've decided that this is, the mutt's nuts, spending an extra $200 or $300 on something that really makes it sort of a comfortable, sort of a luxurious experience to work with, I can see it happening.
Can I share something with you?
Not while we're on public camera.
This is the same knob, is it? I take it that's on the Synclavier, the original Synclavier
yes,
keyboard.
It's exactly the same design.
Yeah, because I have used that not in anger, but I have when I repaired one. Noel Gallagher owns it, and I go, like he's going to use it. Probably keeps his sandwiches on it.
So you say about the money. So let me just add this. This is. It's back to front because I've got the camera mirrored. But this little beauty is the Emu, XL7. And with all the Emus and a lot of other things, they have these clickable things. Now, these wheels feel great when they're new. They're really nice, but they don't really spin round freely. And to be honest, they're fragile and they feel plasticky. If I could replace that on every single one of my Emu system thingies, everything I've got with this, I would do it. And at 280 quid, if I got it at 250, do you know what? I would probably do it because it would make this such a much, much nicer experience.
Good luck getting it in the case.
Yeah, I know. But you know what I mean? There is something about that sort of weight and heft that really makes a difference to how you interact with something.
It does. It's a real stretch for an analogy, but it's a lot like using a good quality keyboard using a crappy one. The feel inspires you.
Yeah. Okay, let's get rid of that for a minute. So I'm going to stop that screen and I'm going to. Can I get rid of that camera? Stop camera. There we go. Boom. So yeah, there's the Regen. So the Synclavier regen, it does, obviously it's there and it will connect directly onto the regen. There is a little knobby thing that goes with it as well. 278 quid plus VAT and any other taxes that might apply, because I don't think they supply it directly here. It's a brilliant, lovely thing. Honestly, I like it, and I know 278 quid plus VAT, etc., which means it's probably up over way over the 300. But for that kind of feel, music is about tactility, right? So many of us are going back to these things and having sliders and God knows what else elsewhere.
Well, and the
super knobs, super knobs.
Yep.
So it doesn't seem like as far-fetched as perhaps it might have done at some point.
Well, yeah, and also keep in mind that the regen is not exactly a cheap piece of hardware. It's it's a real investment to get into it, and I wouldn't be surprised if they've shelled out $2,500, why not shell out an extra $359 US for something that really makes it nice to work with. It's about a 15% add-on.
Thing is, there's a few of those kinds of boxes out there at the moment. So there is, obviously there's the regen, and I think that's one of those that's a slow burn, and more people. There will never be 1 million people buying it, but I think more and more people will buy it once they get to understand what it's about, and they will become lifelong fans. Just done. Also, the 2400 from Brad Holland.
Oh yes,
and or his new what's it, the Calidus, is it called? Caladan. So those kinds of things, they're going to gain more and more followers doing these things. I know they're kind of expensive, but they are premium quality boxes, and it's the experience of being able to work with them and do this stuff that drives it. Has anyone mentioned anything in the chat about the knob?
Yeah, they basically all said, boy, for that money, it had better be luxurious. And James Dyson said, for real luxury, get your hand around my knob. So thank you, James.
James, if you have a Range Rover, I'll pop. Anyway, so that's another chat. That's a pub chat. We don't go into that here.
And somebody, Mikula Music, did mention something interesting. There is a universal USB-based design similar to this. It's called the knob, N0B, and it's basically a very comfortable on the hand. Not as good quality as the Synclavier, but definitely a higher quality encoder knob that works on anything you mouse over. So
do you know what the cost is of that?
I want to say well under $200. Let me see if I can bring it up. Hang on a moment.
Easy.
Yeah. Pub.
Yeah. Well, whilst you're doing that, I'm just
got
looking. If you got it, go on. Tell us how much.
Hang on, I'm bringing it up right now. Oh, don't show me a funky. How much is it? They've got this beautiful moving ad going on. Order now. Here we go. And it really is a gorgeous thing. It's made of wood and has a big, huge brass, carefully knurled knob with a couple of switches, probably for controlling various modes. It's made of wood, and it's really pretty. And it says they're out of stock, and you should subscribe to a newsletter to find out. Great.
How much?
They don't say. They just say we're out of stock. Subscribe to our newsletter. We'll let you know when it's. Great.
So listen, we're talking about expensive things. So
it's going to be it's not going to be nearly as expensive as the Synclavier, but it's obviously very well built.
Well, we don't know. However, what we do have is, who likes free stuff?
I do.
I've been known.
Free stuff. So there's a couple of free things that have been talked about in Robbie's columns or someone's column in Gear News. A couple of freebie plugins that are kind of interesting. Would you like to have a look at one of these? Shall I pop something up that is going to be intensely annoying? And other than me.
Always. Always.
other than me, which I know is a difficult thing to say. I'm hoping this is all good. I believe it is, but it's the manufacturer's thing. And oh, there it is. Right, let's go full screen. Boom, boom. And let's press play. Here we go. So you get the idea. So you get the idea. Yeah, I know. I told you it was annoying. I told you it would. So here's the thing. It's free. And it is doing a reasonably good job of emulating that sound of an 8-bit thing. There's no filter on it. There's none of that stuff. There's a bit crusher, lots of different oscillators, pulse width. I can't see an LFO to control the pulse width, which is a shame, but it's free. And there were some quite nice sounds in there, kind of.
Was it just me, or did every single thing have some grittiness to it?
Every single thing did. It's 8-bit, and they were kept on taking down, you putting in the bit crusher. It did seem a little crunchy to me.
And, you know, if you want crunch, that's great. And listen, you can't argue with the money.
You can't. It's polyphonic or monophonic.
By the way, I found a forum post about that knob controller. When it was in stock, it went for 199 quid. 249 with that.
So it's not far off. But
no, it's not far off.
So
anyway, moving back.
From what I can see, Mr. Brooks, bless you, is saying, let me just help you with his lovely...
Oh, there's our moderator for us. Boy, there's a helping
taste.
Hand. Yes, indeedy.
Okay, so are we generally speaking say we're not getting... I think the general consensus is this free synth is not worth looking at any further. There is another one, which is an animated comb filter, which, if anything, is worse. Would you like to see it? Or shall we just move
I just put the link to the Gear News page about these things in chat, and Andy can repost them as a clickable link. There, I've done your work for you, Brooks.
Right.
So let's hear this filter. I'd love to hear what's worse than that last thing.
Well, yeah. Here we go. Actually, it's not worse. It's free. Another freebie. Let me pop this up and we'll see whether or not we get a strike. I don't think so, because he's trying to sell this. So here we go. Add to stage, and...
What is up? It is Zane here, and today I'm super excited to be reviewing my brand new plug-in growl filter. Let's flip and go. Okay, so first off, I'm just gonna test growl filter on a basic sine wave. Now you should be able to hear it on any speaker. So no effect is on, but now we're gonna enable it and add some spice. So okay, I haven't reacted to this in a while, so I kind of forgot exactly how it sounds.
This is the man that invented it.
kinda, it really does sound like a growl, like roar. Let's just mess with some knobs though. Okay. So as you can see, we're getting crazy results super fast. I'm gonna go no distortion on the sine wave, like just pure basic as you can get. Kinda nasty. You gotta get that sweet spot though.
Not in my, not throughout the course. I watched the whole thing. I didn't see a sweet spot. I'll be entirely honest with you. It didn't ever actually happen. But here's the thing, and I'm going to get rid of that now. There is a link to it, which I shall probably pop into the. Here we go. Copy that, and I'll pop that into the chat. Now, here's the thing. It is free, and it is a comb filter. I don't think he's terribly good at demoing his own stuff, but there are some really extraordinarily good sounds. Yeah, it's a bit like having a ring mod or whatever. Comb filtering does do some really strange and glorious things. If you're struggling to find a sound, you've just got a couple of synths and you can't quite get that dirt and grit and that weirdness that you want, this is a good thing. This is a good thing. If that's for you, then hello, Kent. I don't think you meant to put your thumb up there. I think that was you lighting your ciggy. Oh, it's right. Not a bad thing. It's certainly worth checking out. I think it's worth a download and having a play with. But it's free. What do you think?
I haven't got time in my life remaining to spare. I am aging at the rate of one day every 24 hours. And I'm sorry, but I do not have my whole life ahead of me.
not that it's a thin news week or anything, but yeah, I know what you mean. Ken, can I just take it from your look that you would rather stick a barbed wire encrusted broom up your bottom than do anything with this, or what?
I spend many hours of my life trying to get rid of those sort of anomalies out of filters.
So listen, tell me something.
So the customer wants it back.
Here's the thing. A lot of people don't understand what a comb filter is and what it does. And they do have unique... I know the Novations, the Supernovas, which I happen to have a great comb filter on that. Tell us, and I think there's one on the Muse, isn't there? There's a comb filter on that, or on one of the things that have been out recently.
I think so.
What's the difference with a comb filter? What does it do that a standard high pass, low pass, band pass doesn't do? What's it doing?
Do you know what? I'm not really sure. I know that when it comes to any filter that starts to sound like that, it's either get a new filter or get a bigger hammer. It's just one or the other. No, it's
not.
No, it's no. It's. I know there's people who like to get things like to be gritty, dirty, and 8-bit, and all the rest of it, and that's fine, and it's fine for them. Cool, but I spend
go get
thousands of pounds and hours and hours and hours trying to get my stuff to sound better than what those last two things sounded like.
Yeah, Andrew Brooks.
It's not something I seek.
Yeah.
Andrew Brooks.
A couple of people have mentioned stuff that's out there right now that uses comb filtering really well. Steve Elbows mentions the comb that was added to the Quantum Iridium, and Andrew Brooks calls out the Supernova 2 and says its comb filter is great, sort of like a phaser. And I think what's more accurate is it's sort of like a flanger, because that's what a flanger is. It's a swept comb filter. And it's a lovely sound when it's done right. When it's done wrong, I mean, look, if you really want to crud up your sound, Ohmforce makes a program called Ohmicide, and Ohmicide will give you all of that you want. And
gotta love that name,
Ohmicide. Oh yeah. Oh, their stuff is all like that. Ohm Boys and Symptome, and Mobile Home.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Oh my god that's also free, I think. Anyway, great company, not in the news lately, but their plugins are great, and they make quad fromage. but they're great plugins. They've been around forever. They're one
Forever,
of the
yeah.
earliest.
I've got loads of their plugins.
And their stuff
I haven't used any for a while.
Yeah, because there's always something newer and more exciting coming out.
Yeah.
But Omicide will do everything we just heard, and it'll do it controllably, and you can turn down the grotty factor, so you can give just a little bit of it to your signal rather than, basically putting it through a clothes mangle. So,
well, I think actually you can get that kind of growl filter sound from just about any synth you want. You simply just take a piss on it, and you're there. Do you know what? I'm always wary when there's videos with people on it, and they're going to talk about a product, and they talk like this, or they.
He's a very annoying character, but again,
I immediately go. It's not going to be for me.
I will come back to this though. There are a lot of people out there that don't know what these things are that will play with it, and they'll find some amazingly interesting sounds, and they'll resample them, and they'll use them, or they'll have them in their tracks. Yeah. And they will do something different and new that we don't do because we're utter snobs, right? But I think I'm probably going to download this and play around with it and see what I make of it. And, comb filtering is one of those things that very few people really understand well, myself included. But I love the sound of it. And as I say, I've used it a lot on, like Andrew Books on the Novation, and it was on the Supernova, and it gave a real character to stuff.
When done right.
When done right. But that's down to the operator, right?
No, it's not down to the operator. I challenge anyone to get a good sound out of what we just heard.
Yeah.
That's challenge accepted, Mike.
No, that is from the Synth Mafia dude. Represent. You know what I'm saying?
Welcome to Pro Synth Network. So listen, we were talking about free stuff. How would you like some discounted stuff? That's always good, isn't it?
Oh, that sounds better.
Yeah, it does actually.
Some discounted stuff.
Normally, things that are free is because they'd get killed if they try to get money for them. So let's move on.
Well, there is that.
Yes, let's.
Some of you may have seen this, and I'm conscious of the time as well. So I'm just going to give this a little bit of a doof, as it were. And what do we have? Save 50% on Cubase 13, or alternatively, loyalty rebates on lots of tools that they do. They're giving 50% off up to 70%. So if you currently own, their wording is a bit weird, to be honest. So it says, if you have an activated license for Cubase Pro 13, blah, 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 then you can buy a full version, saving up to 70% of Cubase Pro 13 of the very things they've named up here. So I think they mean previous versions rather than new ones. And if you do, then you get 50% off plus another 40%, which is 70% off. It's worth checking, and certainly just 50% off. So for anyone that's been thinking about...
I have a question, Andrew.
Yeah, go.
Why does the spreadsheet of our topics for today list this as Steinberg discounts? Claw your face off for less.
That's probably
not
Robbie.
Something that's supposed to be read out. So thank you very much for that.
Oh dear.
I don't know exactly where that came from, but actually I'm going to be I've been holding off getting Cubase 13. I've got 12. I've got 2 versions of that. So I will probably get Pro 13 at that price. And in fact, there's an upgrade price as well. I don't know if the upgrade is also discounted. But it's not bad. It's not a bad price.
When you get offered
cross-grade,
it's hard to argue with that, especially if you've bought into the ecosystem. If you're somebody who really loves Cubase and has been using it for a while, then yeah, sure, this is a no-brainer. If they're going to offer you these great prices, jump now.
And how angry are you, Kent, that you upgraded to 13 at full price, or didn't you? Did you get an upgrade price?
Yes, I upgraded to 13 Pro at full price.
At full price?
Of course I did, because I'm an idiot. No, because it's funny, because I was just reading, I know it's it's small writing, but it looked like if you have Cubase Pro 13, you'll be entitled to 70% off Cubase Pro 13. I was like, eh?
Yeah.
How's that work?
There's a bit weird, but it also applies to things like Dorico and I believe Wavelab. I don't think it applies to Nuendo though, which is a bit of a shame because Nuendo is sort of my thingy. I know there's
well, Nuendo's always been separate,
and Cubase is what himself is using as well. There's lots of other people, I'm sure.
Yeah, he's using it for donkeys.
So. Yeah, and I know there's lots of other. There's Logic, and there's there's Logic, and there's Pro Tools, and there's blah 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 blah. Why Cubase? Out of interest, Mike, what do you use?
These days, I do a lot of my composition in Ableton Live, but for basic multi-track recording and compositing, I'm Reaper all the way. I love it. It's for the money. It is an incredible value. I have used pretty much everything else at least a little while, and I can get along in a lot of these DAWs. I do have to say though that for workflow reasons, I don't like Cubase. I'm not a Cubase fan, and I've never bothered getting Cubasis on iOS. It's just, there's something about the way they do things that just doesn't click with me.
Thing is, in 13, a lot of that changed. The one thing I will say is, at last, they've kind of got it right. And that's, it was beginning to change under 12, but 13, the user interface did change a lot, and it made a lot more sense. Have you found that, Ken?
Yeah, I mean, I still shudder at SX3 days.
Oh dear.
Yeah, he goes, and now Cubase SX3 because you don't want to do any music this year.
Basically.
Yeah. And so I mean, no, Cubase. I mean, I've been with Cubase since Atari ST, for Christ's sake. I've tried others. I've tried Logic, Pro Tools. All of the. Bitwig is quite nice. I actually quite like Bitwig, but
I need to try that.
I stuck. I mean, all the doors are good, and all the doors are bad.
Yeah,
it depends on what your name is.
Exactly, you can get work done on any of them, but what clicks with you? I'm actually thinking of looking at Bitwig because this latest upgrade to Ableton Live changed its user interface. And yes, half God, half beast. I know my camera is glitching. It's a crap camera. I paid way too much money for it, and I'm going to replace it. Deal with it.
It's making him look prettier as well.
Yeah, don't you wish?
Yeah.
But Bitwig, is something I'd be curious about because, they just changed up the entire user interface on Live, and I can't find my way around anymore. The whole point of it is that for 11 generations, you could always know how it worked. And now it's just, so if this was a time for me to switch, it would be now.
And these are, I mean, that's the thing. We all sort of go through different things. I've used everything from Sonar to, I used, what Session 8 for a while. I had a Session 8, which was a sort of cost-reduced Pro Tools system, Logic, Cubase, pretty much all of the different things.
Opcode Studio Vision Pro.
Oh yeah, Opcode.
Hey, I was a Vision guy for years.
Yeah, but do you know what? I think it wouldn't matter. I mean, a DAW could come out tomorrow that is, 11 million times better than Cubase and all the rest of it. The only problem is, in December I'm 62 and the clock is ticking. I can't spend time learning a new DAW. I'm done. I know where everything is in this. I'm fine, I can do all my pitch corrections at a drop of a hat. Yeah. I miss my C, what was it, the C2C controller? I really miss that. I'd love to get that back again, or some sort of controller that's supported on Mac.
Yeah, I remember that, the little tiny desktop thing that was
Yeah, brilliant.
case optimized. Oh, Paul Vanook.
Motorized fader.
Yep, and Paul Vanook Jr., the current editor of recording, still has one and uses it. He's a big Cubase guy. So yeah, you know, if you settle in to change, one of two things has to happen. Either the company goes out of business and the software is no longer supported properly, which is what happened with Cakewalk, or they make such drastic changes for the worse that you just can't look at it anymore. And that has happened with various DAWs at various times over the past 30 years. You know, somebody thinks that they're improving it, and the whole reason why Studio One exists is because some guys at Steinberg wanted to redo Cubase. They wanted to rewrite the code base from the ground up, and they wanted to try new user interface possibilities because they were seeing that the future of a lot of music production was on laptops. And a lot of existing DAWs wanted big monitors with a lot of real estate. And they went to Steinberg and they said, we want to do this. And Steinberg says, yeah, right. Look at all these Cubase users. No. And that's why they left. And they went to PreSonus and they launched Studio One, because at some point or another from Steinberg's side, you've got all these people who know this program. And yeah, it's 500,000 lines of code and the cruft is something like 7 versions deep. But if it works and people know it, you don't mess with it. These are our tools. They're like mixing consoles.
So So I take it then you're not tempted at the moment by Cubase 13. It really is a good, I have to say, first time. It's the good, first time in a long time I've looked at Cubase, and I've got 12 that I've gone, you know what, this I'm beginning to enjoy.
Well, yeah, because if it's moving toward your paradigm, Andrew.
Exactly that. And each of us has a different paradigm.
Exactly.
Right. So look, we've only got just over 20 minutes left. There are 2 things I wanted to cover before we go. One of which is something weird and left field, and the other of which is something Dr. Mike wants to talk about.
Yeah, like mine isn't.
Yeah, but...
And yes, Wookie, I know. Cakewalk is alive and kicking. I don't know about an excellent DAW. I think some people would argue with that who are old Sonar users. But anyway, moving on.
There we go. I love Sonar. I still love Sonar. And we'll see how that develops as it goes on. So we had Anthony Marinelli in on not so many yonks ago. Lovely guy and brilliant hair. And he has a particular fondness, apart from me being so pretty, he has a particular fondness for foot pedals. And that's what I'm going to share with you now. Give me half a sec.
Hey, we wrote a whole book on them.
Here we go.
Layers is a sustain effect that can do a bunch of different stuff. It can create drones, stack notes, and add atmospheric textures. It's kind of like a freeze pedal that can sustain up to 3 notes at once, and you can control how long the notes hold out for, and you can also add things like delay and modulation.
So I'm going to leave that up there for a second.
Okay, mad props for using a harpist.
I know, but here's the thing, right? So I'm just going to... Now that we've got this pedal up here, what I find really interesting about this, you can use it with anything, whether it's drums or vocals or guitars or keyboards, synths. What's really interesting, you will notice here, at the top here, you've got trigger on the top right. And you can set this so that above a certain volume or threshold, it will trigger, and then it will start adding the delay or the loop or the freeze to that note that you've, or to that, whatever that event is, and it will freeze it and do all the stuff it's going to do with it, add, attack, decay, sustain. And then it won't trigger the next one until it exceeds the trigger again. So you can set it so it's a high pass, so you only pick up the low end of whatever you're playing, or the high end, or with drums it's about velocity. The trigger will then bring up each one of these, so the next time it triggers it moves on to the next thing whilst the other one's still running, and then the next thing, and so on and so forth. You can add a sub-octave in, you can use it as a stereo effect. It's actually quite a lovely thing, this. It's actually quite a lovely thing. And I know it's not, generally speaking, something that people would maybe give a lot of time to, but there's a lot of people are building reverbs that have what's the reverbs that we all love these days with
Strymon.
Sorry,
Strymon.
No. The effect that's on the
Shimmer.
Shimmer, thank you very much. So shimmer's become a big thing because it does this stuff, and you can change the pitch or not, as a pitch, an octave up or sevenths or fifths or whatever. This does something similar but different, actually, and it has atmospherically the same kind of thing going on. You can add all these sub octaves in and everything else. What's your thoughts about this? Because I think this kind of thing stuck on a chain and just or maybe stuck on an effects loop inside of whatever you're using. I think this is something which I'm really seriously thinking about getting, guys.
How much is it?
Do you know? I don't know at the moment. Let me take this.
Round 200 quid.
Round 200 quid. Okay.
No, I'm getting one.
I think it's rather lovely.
Yeah.
You know what it reminded me of at first was Game Changer Audio, the Plus pedal, which is that pedal that has the built-in piano damper pedal mechanism that would grab and freeze audio as you played that you could then control with pedal pressure. But this does more. And yes, Wagyu, I do believe it is TRS jacks on the pedal.
So it's TRS. You can either work it as mono, or you have to open the back up and flick a switch inside, and it will then use the TRS as full stereo ins and outs. So it does work with TRS, but you have to flick a switch to make it full stereo. But it is stereo, and it does. You can pan things. You can pan each of these voices to the left or to the right or center or what arbitrarily in the stereo field. So it's kind of a cool thing. It really is. Let me get rid of that.
It really is. And I'm going to say I had a Plus pedal, which I ended up giving away to a friend who needed it more than I did. But I enjoyed it. And the thing about this is it has a different kind of interaction that I think might work better for me than the Plus pedal did. And it's half the price. The Plus pedal is incredibly well built, but it's nearly $400. So, yeah, I am very, very curious about this little box. Yeah, I think it's worthwhile.
It is a good thing. It is a good thing. So I'm just looking at it here. So we've got trigger. There are some other. What I will do, if you haven't, Andrew's done it already. Thank you, matey. This is such a good pedal. I like it. I really advise. I think it's worth a few minutes of anyone's time to look at this vid, to see what it's about. Go and check out their website as well. It's a great thing. I really like this, and like Kent, I think I'm going to be getting this.
I am trying to slim down my pedal rig. At one point or another, I was using 17 pedals at a time. There's a reason for that, but not for this call. But this is the kind of thing which looks like if I were to make use of all of its features, I could probably eliminate 2 other pedals.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I'm digging it. I really am.
You are?
Yeah, I'm liking the idea of having that trigger level, because I go, okay, so I can apply VCA to aftertouch, and then the note that I want to freeze, I just press a bit of aftertouch and trigger it and hold it.
Think of the Quantec, the QRS, the Quantec room simulator. The freeze thing, everyone loved that. You can do that 3 times. So you can build up a chord. You can set it so it only triggers that freeze when it reaches above a certain level or a certain frequency or whatever. There are all sorts of ways of doing this. And then you can, when it comes in, when it triggers it and freezes it, you can change the attack and the decay time on that. And then you can add delay and modulation to it. I mean, it's a very small pedal, with seemingly very few controls, but it does an awful lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that I was actually surprised because of all the people to come out with this. MXR, really?
Yeah.
This sounds like something you'd get from Strymon or from Eventide. Maybe even from Electro-Harmonics, because they tend to like sort of going for the really bizarre stuff. But MXR, you normally think of their stuff as being fairly prosaic, and there's nothing prosaic about that effect.
Nothing at all. So yeah, I think that's a goodie. It seems like a lot of people in the chat are.
Yeah, I kind of wish they
thinking
had a
much the
better
same
name
as
than.
us.
Kind of wish they had a better name than the Layers. Layers.
they-
I mean, naming pedals
What I
is
call my
important.
chickens. If
Well-
I had chickens.
Yeah, they'd be Layers. Yes,
Or
very good.
Colin.
Yeah, Colin or Jeff.
Yeah.
Well,
Jeff.
like Joe Gore makes a fuzz pedal for people who don't know how to play fuzz pedals. It's got one big knob. It's called the duh. 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 Yeah. The subtitle is Remedial Fuzz. So
Well, listen, we've got
so
we've
names
got
are important.
slightly less than 15 minutes left, and
Oh,
I know
come
there
on.
was something particular, Mike, because you're a bonkers, weird American individual.
Okay.
You wanted to show this off. And
I don't want to show it off. I just want to bring it to people's attention. Because it is an interesting thing. It's a Kickstarter for a kit to
Shall
build.
we show it? Shall we show it?
Yeah, just put up the website. It's
And
a
play the
Kickstarter.
video. Here we go. What's this?
This is the Scrub Board Kit. It's a fun DIY kit with easy to follow instructions, and when you're done, you'll be able to scratch any cassette tape like a vinyl record. Don't feel like building it yourself? There are also partially and fully assembled units available. Scratching with the Scrub Board is different than other kinds of scratching. It offers a different approach to manipulating recorded sound, which for you means new ways to develop your own unique style. For example, you can cut and scratch with the same hand by slightly lifting the playhead up off the tape while you're scratching. And it reads both sides of the tape at the same time, so you can use your fader for more than just cutting. You can use it to switch between two different playlists as well.
And
Okay.
there you have it.
It is fun. And the fact that it's a kit and the fact that it's reasonably affordable, God bless them. The one thing though that you get when you read this, when you read the Kickstarter page, is they talk about this being, this incredible new. Yeah, wait a minute, go back. Did they ask? Yes, they did. I didn't see that. It all started with Laurie Anderson. She had a tape bow violin where she would have a pre-made piece of tape that she would put in a clamp, and she had an old violin body with a tape head. And so she would come out on stage and she would play this thing like a violin and make a sample go back and forth. And it wasn't but the idea is that it's 45 years old. And this is an interesting improvement. The main thing that I like is that it's really affordable. It's really, really affordable. No, I don't want to have a keytar version, but
How much is it? I didn't see at the top.
if you go to the right, scroll down on the right, and
Hang
it will
up
tell
a
you.
minute.
Yeah, scroll down.
450.
Yeah,
That's not affordable.
Well, compared to what some of the other stuff does, you can pay $600
buy
for a Eurorack module that you plug a cassette into and crank back and forth with a knob.
Okay.
But the idea is that it's a new way of messing with sound. And a lot of the people who've been interviewed about it so far, like DJ Jazzy Jeff, has said, "Wow, this has never been done before." And at least this guy acknowledges that, yeah, it was done 45 years ago. And if you watch the movie Home of the Brave, you can actually see Laurie Anderson doing it.
So here's first of all, Ken, what do you make of it? Because just quickly before, there's the whole thing with Laurie Anderson putting tape on a bow and then having a head on a violin and playing like you're bowing like you would do a real, another.
It looked
violin.
great live.
What a great thing! It was a great looking thing. I like the idea of that because it's suitably bonkers and it actually does have a performance thing. How much do you want to burn these kits?
No, it's all right. It's it's just it doesn't fall into my world. It's just
It's a weird idea.
Yeah, but it's not my thing at all.
I wouldn't mind. I don't have the time to put one together, and I don't want to buy a fully assembled one. But that's the kind of thing that I got started on back in the 70s. That's how I was doing music. Was messing with tape, music concrete. That was my thing,
Yeah.
and this makes it accessible. The thing about the tape bow violin is people watch what you're doing because you can actually people put together the motion of the bow with what's coming out of the sound, and it's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous to watch. But somehow I don't think that watching somebody standing over one of these things and moving a little remote around will be quite the same visual effect.
It's another DJ thing. It's another, it is interesting. I think, the analogness of it as a system, and as a kit thing, will teach people things. But 450 quid for just the parts and build it yourself. That's, I was expecting you to say 100 quid or 150.
Well, and there will be
honest.
people who will take this idea and figure out a way to simplify it. But the whole,
Well, the days of winding tape back into a cassette with a pen are behind me, and that's where they're going to bloody stay.
Yes, there is that. Anyway, I just thought I'd
Just doing that with 2-inch tape.
Well, yeah,
Find
and
the drum beat.
Yeah.
And then
when
put the cut in.
Laurie Anderson played live on the Big Science tour before she did the whole United States thing back in the very early '80s, I got to see her in college, and my friend of mine who was a violinist went backstage to talk to her afterwards at a meet and greet. And my friend, she was absolutely fascinated. She said, "Where did you get the idea for the tape bow violin?" And Laurie Anderson looked at her, and in that very Laurie Anderson voice, she explained that working in the studio, she would edit the tape, right, move the thing, and then she'd pick up the violin and play something. And then she'd move the tape, and she said that eventually she made this kinesthetic connection, and she realized that she had the possibility for doing something really cool, which I think was a question that she appreciated at the Q&A much better than the next person who came up and said, "How do you make your hair do that?"
Yeah. So yeah, I think pretty much everyone has got the same kind of. I mean, here's the thing. This kind of a project, I love this for the reason that it starts you thinking laterally and going, well, actually, if you do that, or if you were to take the bow idea, and I can already see people are talking about, there's SJ88 is saying, the sustained note recorder, you could play it back at different pitches. Yeah, which is the whole violin bit.
Yep.
It's an interest, it's interesting in that it's an analog, the whole idea of bow. It's taking an instrument and repurposing it.
Yeah.
With the bow.
Yep.
And with this
Yep.
tape deck, it's taking an idea that already exists, which is vinyl or CDs and scratching them. I'm not sure what it's adding into this that you couldn't
Well,
do.
the fact that you can, I can sort of see bits and pieces of this being useful, but you have to admire somebody, and he hasn't funded yet. He's got 18 days left. I think he's got, or 15 days left. He's got fewer than 20 backers, and he's got a ways to go before the thing will actually launch. He might not make it, in which case he'll have to go back to the drawing board and figure out a way to make it cheaper, or, so we'll just have to see. I just love the idea of somebody doing something this new.
So just talking of that, you were saying, not sure that he's made it yet, that he's going to actually hit his target. When you were doing the Moog, Minimoog book, and
are we
launched
back
that,
on that again?
No, but it's a good reason for this. I mean, when one does crowdfunding, you're never quite sure what's going to happen. How nervous were you the day that it launched, before you got your first hit? How nervous were you about actually hitting?
Okay, just the same as it was the last 3 Kickstarter. People think that we don't do Kickstarters. Our first 3 books were Kickstarters. And then we moved over to the funding ahead of time, just pre-order it when it's ready to go. We went back to a Kickstarter for this for a variety of reasons, but every single time we launch one of these, Kim is absolutely 100% convinced that we're doomed. He is convinced that nobody is going to want this book, that maybe this time we didn't get the right topic. Maybe it's not as popular as we thought it would be.
Imposter syndrome.
And not even imposter syndrome. It's not that he's not good enough. It's that maybe we picked the wrong topic.
Yeah.
And I get very zen. I just say, Kim, talk to me an hour or 2 after the Kickstarter has launched, and then we'll see how much trouble we're in, And we funded in under 2 hours.
Well, that's good. That's good. So, gentlemen, here's the thing. We've had very little to talk about, although we seem to have done an awful lot of talking. And unfortunately, that meant you had me here drivelling on endlessly. But we kind of made it to the end of the show. We've got like 3 minutes. Or not even like 3 minutes. We actually have 3 minutes left before we finish. So what I'd like to do is find out, just before we do anything else, is there anything happening at the weekend? Are there any shows? I know, is Jamie doing one now on Sunday or not?
Don't know. He didn't do one last weekend. I thought he was going to do one last weekend, but he didn't. And I don't know whether he's doing one this weekend. And there's no Rands tomorrow, I believe.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Ken, do you have a pub coming up anytime soon?
Probably to fill the holes. We've got Synchrotron in the mornings. I hope he's doing one in the morning.
All right. I'm curious because I really enjoyed the one time I was able to get on. I'd like to do it again. But as far as I'm concerned, I mean, we've got the usual stuff happening at radiospiral.net. We've got a 2-hour live concert tomorrow at what would be 10 p.m. to midnight UK time. And we've got a live concert middle of the night for you guys, or early Monday morning on Sunday. So we're pushing forward.
Good. And Andy and Grace are playing at the Off the
Awesome.
Tracks at Castle Donington. I understand they're going to be rehearsing tomorrow afternoon at some point and then heading off and doing their set. Always worth catching those two. They are just extraordinary.
Is it being streamed?
I don't know. Andy, can you let us know? Are you being streamed? Let us know.
Somebody asked in chat too.
Because it's literally the only way I'll ever see those two performing live.
Yeah, I know.
It says sadly not.
Oh
well.
Never mind. And
I'll just have to imagine.
We've had a late donation in from Kissing the Machine. I don't know if we've had some others, but thank you very much. Whoop, 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 whoop. Every penny buys me beer. That's what it's all about, really. And
well, of course.
Have you got any plans for the weekend, Mr. Spong?
In between work, because there's 2 up 2600s that need finishing off.
Just a couple.
Let's see. And obviously, I'll be doing a pub tomorrow night by those things.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah, well, that's enough, I think.
And the Mustang is all ready and.
Mustang is purring like a kitten. Well, actually, it's roaring like a lion, to be honest. But it purrs like a kitten when you're not pushing the throttle.
And Dr. Mike, do you have any plans other than the radio show?
Well, I've actually, without spoilers, there is a well-liked software company that is preparing a small but significant update to some of its products. And I'm writing the documentation to make sure that people can follow the upgrades.
So you're having a wonderfully relaxing weekend.
Oh, are you kidding? This is bread and butter to me.
Good.
No,
stuff.
this is
Well,
great.
we
No,
like
I'll put up my feet. I'll cook some food, and I'll spend time, with the fam. But if I'm going to be working, the one thing I'd like to work on is stuff that's, nicely detail oriented and fun. So
Good.
there you go.
And I'm going to be, I don't know quite what I'm doing. I've got some video things to start editing at some point. I'm going to be doing some music. I may well start doing some video on this little puppy down here.
Is that the Sonicware?
No, that's the XL1. XL7. The EMU XL7. I'm just going to do a couple of shorts because it's one that people recognise, but not enough has known about it. So I'll do some shorts on that over the weekend, I think. And gentlemen, guess what?
It's a show?
I think we've done a show. We've gone a couple of minutes over. I don't know if that matters.
And
Are
they
we in
said we
trouble?
wouldn't be able to hit a donkey's ass with a banjo.
Who
And we
said
have
that?
done it.
Who ever said that? Who in the history of human civilization ever talked about hitting a donkey's ass with a banjo?
Well, Kent did.
I
And
think it was in Reacher, if I remember rightly.
talking of which, I'm reaching for the end of the stream button. So if you've got any important things you would...
Yes.
It has to be quick.
Once again, thank you guys. It's always so much fun to be here.
Good.
And so whenever you need me back, especially if Robbie's also on, so I can pick on him, always glad to. And for those of you in the audience who are going to be at NobCon next weekend, I will be staying at the Con Hotel. I'll be there as of Thursday, and just look for me and buy me a drink, and you can discover the wonderful experience of having me talk to you and not being able to switch off your browser.
Good. Now, in the meantime, I'm going to press that button any minute now. But before I do, don't forget, comment,
Like, subscribe, push the
share,
button.
and subscribe. And we adore you all. Thank you so much for your company tonight. And Robbie will be back at some point. We don't know if he's going to be back in time for next week's show. That's still open for debate. But otherwise, he will be back in 2 weeks' time.
Should be.
Otherwise, you're going to face us again, you poor things.
Looking
with
forward
that-
to it, Eric.
So with that, goodbye!
Take
Au
care.
revoir.